the recorded video. Well, friends and colleagues, by now, I believe everyone on Earth realizes the complexity of the global challenges we are all facing today, or what we call the planetary crises presented by, first, the anthropogenic climate change that is caused by human activity as the most significant threat to world peace, security, and people's prosperity. Second, the ecosystem destruction represented by the risk of losing 1 million species to extinction. And third, pollution represented by overconsumption and waste generation that is reaching our lands and oceans. This is all in addition to the pandemic threat of COVID-19 and its socio-economic, health and environmental impacts. We all witness and suffer from the ongoing environmental challenges of desertification, deforestation, water scarcity, floods, unusual weather conditions, and many, many others. But let us think about why have we gotten here? 200 years ago, the world population was around 1 billion people. Today, we are almost 8 billion and exponentially increasing. But the Earth's natural capacity 200 years ago is the same as its natural capacity today. But also, let's just go back to the 1970s and consider what we call the Earth Overshoot Day. And the Earth Overshoot Day marks the date when humanity's demand for ecological resources and services in a given year exceeds what Earth can regenerate in that year. So, just to simplify it, imagine Earth as a container that has all our needs for a whole year. In 1970, we were consuming by December, at the end of the year, the entire container, and the Earth was able to regenerate its resources. In 2019, which was last year, the pandemic, and because of our consumption pattern, we finished and consumed the natural resources of Earth in July. So 5 months before it was supposed to be consumed. That means we consume almost double what Earth can offer. In another meaning, we need 1.7 planets to sustain our living. The unprecedented development spree in the 20th and 21st centuries have changed the face of the Earth. We are losing, for example, forests the size of Italy every single year. Currently, 70% of the people live in cities consuming water, electricity, roads, construction, and so on. There are many other examples of the global explosion in development that we have witnessed and are still witnessing. Now, realizing all these factors, as well as the unsustainable socio-economic state of the world, the UN launched the Sustainable Development Agenda with its Sustainable Development Goals to be achieved by 2030. It was launched in September 2015 to start in 2016. These Sustainable Development Goals, the 17 goals, can be summarized under what the Secretary General called the overarching 5P principles, including people living on a healthy planet, enjoying prosperity, living together in peace, and achieving the goals or these goals in partnership. So people, planet, prosperity, peace, and partnership. So for the first time, we have goals that will eliminate or aspire to eliminate poverty and ensure universal education and healthy diets, and at the same time as protecting life underwater and above land. To achieve these 17 goals, a set of 169 targets were developed with the associated 202 indicators as to measure our progress in achieving them. The Sustainable Development Goals were adopted, as I mentioned, in September 2015, and so we are now 5 years into the implementation. So let's look at what the UN reports say about the progress on the implementation of these goals. The reports say that only 23% of the 93 related or environment-related SDGs are, or SDG indicators are on track to meet the targets if we continue the current trends of consumption. 68% of these indicators, there's not enough data to assess progress. So we are not doing good in terms of data collection. And for 9% of these indicators, there is no progress whatsoever towards achieving the targets. In addition, there are more than 30% of the environment-related SDGs indicators still do not have an agreed methodology how to measure them and what to focus on. The SDGs call upon all stakeholders and actors, from individuals to nations and to governments, and from grassroots, NGOs to multinational corporations, to participate in contributing towards their attainment. So it is not the responsibility of governments alone, but it is the responsibility of every one of us. Therefore, addressing the multitude of contributing factors to environmental challenges, as well as dealing with its negative manifestations, requires an unprecedented degree of cooperation from all stakeholders, or a behavioral revolution towards Earth. Friends and colleagues, for centuries, faith leaders and faith-based organizations have been providing the much needed socio-economic and development support to those most in need. For example, 50% of schools and 50% of medical services worldwide were built and are being run by faith-based organizations. And I am sure you agree with me that you would find a mosque or a church or a temple in every corner of the world, manned by an imam or a priest or a monk. And those are or have been providing religious services and religious advice. We also agree that religious leaders are viewed as reliable and trustworthy, and they are sources of guidance, especially using sacred scripts. And as in many religions, the value of those religions determine what we eat, what we drink, and how to behave. It is known that more than 85% of people on Earth, they associate themselves to a faith or a religion. Thus, we all have a set of spiritual values, a set of standards that we refer to for guidance. Now, in terms of the environment, all world religions and spiritual traditions highlight that the earth is sacred and was created by God, or by nature, or whatever the belief is, but it is sacred, and there is a divine force that has created it, and it does not belong to humanity. Air, water, animals, plants, and all of these elements build on ecological community of life in which humans are members, not dominators. Humans depend on and benefit from the ecosystem services that the biosphere provides. So care for the earth, its integrity, and our stewardship of the creation are fundamental religious spiritual principles in all world religions and of course spiritual traditions. These values and religious principles are and should constitute a major part of the behavioral revolution that I am talking about, backed up by scientific findings and best sustainable practices. It is in this context that the Faith for Earth initiative was launched in 2017 by the United Nations Environment Programme. This initiative is a cross-cutting program of UNEP, and UNEP is the leading global environmental authority that sets the global environmental agenda. So the Faith for Earth initiative aims to strategically engage and partner with faith-based organizations to collectively contribute towards the achievements of the SDGs and fulfilling the objectives of the 2030 agenda. The initiative seeks to mobilize new faith and interfaith partnerships and utilize innovative approaches to unite them around a common goal that all religions agree on, which, as mentioned, is living in harmony with nature. But attaining this outcome for the initiative will be derived from achieving three goals. The first one is to strengthen faith-based organizations' leadership for policy impact. We are trying to achieve this goal by bringing faith leaders into public policy debates to integrate the system of values into policy making. These issues would be ones where changes in behavior can have successful outcomes. The second goal, which is greening the faith-based organizations' assets and investments. It is known now that faith institutions are the fourth largest economic power on earth. Thus, they own trillions of dollars worth of investments and assets. The aim of this objective is to see more faith-based investments and assets integrating environmental considerations and investing in greener economies. And now, post-COVID-19 or during COVID-19, it is more needed than ever to build back better, including the contribution of faith-based organizations. And globally, there are 37 million churches, 4 million mosques, and more than 100 million temples around the world. So just imagine greening these houses of worship, what would do, and how much it will contribute to reducing carbon dioxide and improving the sustainability of our resources. So the idea here is that we need to practice what we preach. If we preach about sustainability, we need to practice that in our own assets and investments. The third goal of the initiative is to strengthen the science faith-based evidence, so to link sciences with faith teachings. So the goal of, or this goal aims to break down the faith and science boundaries and enable faith-based organizations to share and integrate scientific findings into their teachings and communicate it with the decision makers, the public, and other faith-based organizations. So let me tell you what have we done so far in the initiative in achieving or contributing to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals and the Agenda 2030. I'm very pleased to tell you that we have done significant progress to date. And I'm going to mention a few of them, and of course, if you are interested, you can go to our website through UNEP's main website, and you will find lots of description of the achievements thus far. So for example, the first ever Faith, Science and Policy Dialogue Conference was held during the UNEP Assembly in 2019. More than 160 faith leaders representing 40 countries and 12 religions and more than 60 institutions came together to engage with policymakers and make the case for integrating religious perspectives in environmental conservation. This past October of 2020, working with many partners, we held the Faith for Nature Global Digital Conference with the government of Iceland, where hundreds and actually thousands of people participated with the highest level faith leaders from all religions in coming up with what we called our sacred commitment, which linked faith, spiritual and ethical values to nature-based solutions and our moral responsibility towards Earth. To enable the policy dialogue, we started in 2017 with 8 faith-based organizations accredited as accredited members to UNEP as observers. Today, we have more than 50 organizations engaging in discussions and the design of UNEP's strategic and midterm strategy and program of work. We have worked with Yale University Forum on Religion and Ecology, the Parliament of World Religions, and together we published a unique and resourceful book called Faith for Earth, A Call for Action. This book was launched in October of this year, and it is a very important resource on how each and every one of the religions reflect on environment and what has been the actions and examples of activities by faith-based organizations and religions. We have been part of the launch and construction of the Living Chapel with the Vatican and the Dicastery for Integral Human Development of the Vatican. The Living Chapel provides a model for sustainable houses of worship, encouraging growing of trees, using recycled materials, renewable energy, and recycling water. And we hope to launch a new initiative which will address all types of sacred spaces, whether mosques, temples, and what have you at the global level. And also with the Vatican, we held the second international conference on Laudato Si. Laudato Si is a plan of action, or what is called the papal letter to the Catholics or humanity. And these were launched by Pope Francis to address global environmental issues from a Catholic perspective. We are currently working with some partner Islamic institutions in developing and designing Mizan. Mizan is an Islamic charter on the environment, encouraging and engaging 1.8 billion Muslims in integrating environmental actions into their religious practices and daily lives. We have been working with intergovernmental organizations such as the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, the African Union, the European Union, and others to integrate strategies for engaging with faith institutions on environmental issues. We have successfully added environment as an important work stream of the German-funded International Partnership on Sustainable Development. And currently, I serve as a co-chair in the work stream engaging interfaith and faith organizations on knowledge sharing, advocacy, and capacity building. And we have held with the Swedish International Development Agency, SIDA, the first no-flight global conference before even COVID-19 prevented us from traveling, to build the capacity of faith leaders on sustainable development. And we are currently designing another one which will be held in March on gender and climate change. And we have held and facilitated hundreds of capacity building workshops and webinars with faith and international partners. And we have published numerous publications linking religions and environmental issues, highlighting the work of faith-based organizations. One of these publications is the SDG report, highlighting the achievements of such organizations in the last 5 years in contributing to the SDGs with the Parliament of World Religions. And currently we are designing a platform where such contributions can be automatically captured online as a source of accountability framework for the contributions of faith-based organizations. Friends, today there are more than 1.8 billion people between the ages of 10 to 24. They are the largest generation of youth in history. Close to 90% of them live in developing countries. Connected to each other like never before, young people want and already contribute to the resilience of their communities, proposing innovative solutions, driving social progress, and inspiring political change. They are also agents of change, mobilizing to advance the Sustainable Development Goals to improve the lives of the people and the health of the planet. Youth-led organizations need to be encouraged and empowered to participate in translating the 2030 Agenda into local, national, and regional policies. They play a significant role in the implementation, monitoring, and review of the agenda, as well as in holding governments accountable. With political commitment and adequate resources, young people have the potential to make the most effective transformation of the world into a better place for all. So what role or roles youth can play in support of the SDGs? First, young people must keep asking questions, critical questions, about the world around us and do critical thinking. Second, young people also have the power to act and mobilize others. Youth activism is on the rise, bolstered by broader connectivity and access to social media. In addition to bringing fresh perspectives, young people best understand the problems they face, and they can offer new ideas and alternative solutions better than us, the elder people. Young people can be partners in communicating the development agenda to their peers and communities at the local level, as well as across countries and religions, and of course regions. And when young people are empowered with the knowledge of their rights and equipped with leadership skills, they can drive change in their communities and countries. And UNEP is establishing, in addition to its known youth program, we are establishing the Faith for Earth coalition with 4 pillars. And let me tell you about the pillars, including the Youth Council. The first pillar is the Eminent Faith Leaders Council, which will include the highest level faith leaders. And this is required to send one coherent, unambiguous message that we are all in one boat, regardless what we believe. And we have all a spiritual responsibility towards Earth. The second is a consortium between scientists and religious scholars for bridging the science and theology or religious teachings and to make them mutually supportive. The third is a network of chief executive officers of faith-based organizations to implement the theory in practical terms on the ground for local communities. They have been providing tremendous support in aid in development projects. So we want them to include the environmental component as an essential contribution to sustainability and sustainable development. And finally, a youth or a young faith leaders council to mobilize the power of young people as change agents and to be prepared to take the helm of religious institutions inspired by the wisdom of their eminent leaders and empowered by their knowledge. Friends, as I mentioned, religions and what we believe affects every aspect of our life. The way we deal with our neighbors, the way we deal with families, what we eat or drink, what we dress is all determined by our religions, or to a maximum degree affects our choices and our decisions. But we often forget that our religions also frame our interactions with our nature and the earth we live on. So we just need to be aware of that and adopt it as our guiding principles for our consumption and production patterns, and as well as our behavior. Personally, and I am sure this is true with everyone I have worked with on interfaith collaboration, this work on religions and environment made me realize more than ever that we are all in one boat, regardless of our religion, regardless of our background and what we believe in. This will lead to a more peaceful coexistence and cooperation among religions and spiritual beliefs of the world. And this is very much needed to ensure that we live as healthy people on a healthy planet, living in prosperity and partnership. I think I have spoken for long, so let me now try to see if there are questions in the chat that I can answer.